On the morning of May 29, 1953, two men stood where no human had stood before, at the very top of the world. Imagine the air so thin your lungs burn with every breath, the wind so sharp it feels like glass on your skin, and below you, an endless slope of ice and rock falling away toward a horizon that seems to swallow the sun. They had one small goal: get up, then get down. For decades, Everest had been the mountain that laughed at men. Explorers had tried and failed. In the 1920s and 1930s, a young schoolteacher named George Mallory vanished on the mountain and became the ghost story every climber whispered about. By 1953, a well-funded British expedition, led by Colonel John Hunt, assembled nearly 400 people, climbers, Sherpas, porters, and built a route up the south side, through icefalls, across the South Pole, and toward the summit. The mountain they aimed for is Earth's highest peak, now officially measured at about 8,848.86 meters, a height so tall it demands respect. Edmund Hillary, a beekeeper from New Zealand, and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa who knew the mountain like a map in his bones, were chosen for the final push. They had trained, tested oxygen gear, and moved between camps for weeks in bitter cold. On the 29th, they left a high camp before dawn, moving slowly, each step a tiny victory against the thin air. It's worth pausing to picture that. Two men in heavy boots, ropes between them, crampons biting into ice, each breath precious. Around 11:30 a.m. local time, after climbing the last knife-edge ridges and negotiating what climbers later called the Hillary Step, they topped the summit ridge. There, in the wind and silence, they planted small offerings, flags, a few sacred tokens, and took a single photograph that would prove what words could not. They stayed only a short while. At that altitude, time is an enemy. 15 minutes at the top, and then the long, dangerous descent back down the mountain that had tried to keep them. They used bottled oxygen on that climb, a technology that made survival and performance possible at those heights. But it was more than equipment, it was teamwork. Tenzing and Hillary relied on each other and on the dozens of people behind them who had carried gear, fixed ropes, and risked their lives to build the path. Their success was both personal and profoundly collective. News of the summit reached the world at an extraordinary moment. It broke in Britain the same week as the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. The headlines made two men into symbols. Edmund Hillary was knighted, and Tenzing Norgay received honors from multiple governments and became, overnight, a global figure. Still, questions and debates floated after the climb. Who had stepped first? They reached the top together, and in the years after, both men described that moment as shared. The mountain had not been conquered by one ego, but by a partnership. What they left behind was more than a photograph. Hillary used his fame to help the people of the Himalaya, funding schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Tenzing taught and inspired generations of Sherpa climbers. The story of that summit is a story of courage, humility, and the complicated history of exploration, of outsiders and local peoples working together, sometimes unequally, to reach an astonishing human achievement. Since 1953, Everest has changed. Routes have shifted, the famous Hillary Step was altered by the powerful earthquake of 2015, and more accurate measurements have refined the mountain's height. The mountain still claims lives each year. It remains a test of skill, judgment, and endurance. But the climb of May 29, 1953 stands as a milestone. Two men at the highest point on Earth, breathing thin air, making history quietly, then returning to tell the tale. If you close your eyes and try to feel what they felt, the cold, the ache, the dizzying view, remember this: it wasn't a single heroic act. It was preparation, teamwork, respect for the mountain, and a steady, unshowy determination to keep putting one foot in front of the other until the top was reached. That is why their names still echo whenever someone looks up and thinks, for a moment, about touching the sky.